The year was 1849. I stepped onto the docks of San Francisco, a city consumed by the gold rush. The air was thick with the shouts of men, the smell of salt and timber, and a pervasive sense of desperate hope. Hundreds of prospectors, their faces etched with ambition, pushed past me. It was an overwhelming, chaotic welcome to California. Later, in a small, dusty room, I opened my father's journal. Its worn leather cover and brass clasps felt familiar in my hands. Inside, the pages held exquisite, detailed drawings of plants, each one a testament to his passion. My father, a botanist, had dedicated his life to documenting the Sierra flora. My expression was firm. I was determined to continue his work. The next day, I ventured into a noisy tavern, seeking a guide. The air was thick with pipe smoke and boisterous laughter. When I explained my mission to find plants, not gold, many of the men simply laughed. Their dismissive reactions were frustrating, but I had expected it. They could not understand the true value I sought. As I turned to leave, a man sitting alone in a corner caught my eye. He had a sun-weathered face and steady gray eyes. This was Silas Blackwood. He approached me, his manner skeptical yet professional. He offered his services, admitting he had guided others into the wilderness. A cautious hope began to bloom within me. While Silas and I discussed terms, a sharp, ambitious man interrupted us. This was Caleb Monroe, impeccably dressed even in this setting. He introduced himself, offering his scholarly assistance with a smooth, unsettling smile. I politely declined his offer, sensing a ruthless ambition beneath his polished exterior. Silas remained silent, observing the exchange carefully. The next morning, Silas and I left the chaotic city behind. We rode on horseback, heading east towards the distant Sierra Nevada mountains. The air grew cleaner, the sounds of the city faded, replaced by the rustle of leaves and the distant calls of birds. The journey felt both adventurous and uncertain. A new chapter of my life had begun. Our path soon led us past a mining camp. The once pristine landscape was now deeply scarred. Deep pits marred the earth, and countless trees lay felled, their stumps like broken teeth. The streams ran muddy, choked with debris. I looked upon the devastation with a profound sadness. This was exactly what my father had feared. Days later, amidst a cluster of rocks near a trickling stream, I found it. A plant, exactly as depicted in my father's journal. My heart swelled with joy. I immediately knelt, pulling out my journal and pencil. Completely focused, I began to sketch its delicate leaves and vibrant petals, capturing its essence before it was gone. Silas watched me from a short distance. He had been skeptical, but seeing my absolute focus and quiet reverence for the plant, he seemed to begin to understand my passion. He shifted, turning his gaze to the surroundings. He stood guard, his eyes scanning the trees and the distant ridges, ensuring our safety. His initial cynicism was slowly softening. That evening, by the flickering light of our campfire, I explained my mission to Silas. I showed him my father's journal, the detailed illustrations. My voice was earnest as I spoke of my hope to preserve my father's invaluable work. I wanted to document these plants before the landscape was changed forever by the gold rush. Silas listened, his gaze fixed on the dancing flames. Days blurred into a pattern of walking and observing. Silas and I had journeyed deeper into the Sierra Nevada, where the air felt cleaner. The scenery was breathtaking, untouched by the chaos of the gold rush. Towering pines reached for the sky, and clear streams whispered secrets as they flowed over ancient rocks. It was a peaceful and awe-inspiring landscape. Unknown to us, we were not alone in this vast wilderness. From a rocky outcrop high above, Caleb Monroe watched our progress. He held a brass spyglass to his eye, tracking our small figures below. A cold, calculating expression was fixed on his face, his narrow eyes gleaming with greed. He was clearly planning his next move. I continued my botanical work with diligence. I identified several more plant species, carefully comparing them to the detailed illustrations in the Sierra Flora Journal. Each new discovery filled me with quiet satisfaction. With a small trowel, I gently collected their precious seeds, placing them into tiny cloth bags. I wanted to preserve every unique specimen. One afternoon, the sky darkened suddenly, and a fierce rainstorm descended upon us. We scrambled for shelter, finding a small, shallow cave just in time. Inside, the air grew thick with the sound of the downpour. The confined space created a tense atmosphere at first. However, as we waited, our shared vulnerability began to build a deeper connection between us. As the rain continued, Silas began to speak. He told me a story about the mountains, a local legend about a hidden spring. His voice was low and steady, filled with a deep reverence for the land. He knew these mountains intimately, every crevice and every secret. Listening to him, my trust in Silas grew stronger than before. The next day, our path was suddenly blocked by two rough-looking prospectors. One, a man named John, had a grizzled beard and suspicious eyes. The other, Robert, was equally unkempt. They noticed the Sierra Flora Journal in my hand, its brass clasps glinting. They demanded to see what valuable things it contained, their voices harsh and confrontational. Silas stepped forward, placing himself between me and the prospectors. His voice was calm but held an undeniable firmness. He spoke to them quietly but with authority, explaining that we were merely passing through. He did not raise his voice, yet his steady gaze conveyed a clear warning. After a moment of hesitation, the prospectors grumbled and moved on, leaving us unharmed. Once the prospectors were out of sight, I turned to Silas. "Thank you, Silas," I said, my voice filled with genuine gratitude. He simply nodded, his gray eyes meeting mine. In that quiet moment, a silent understanding passed between us. Our respect for each other had deepened significantly. Later, following a subtle clue in my father's journal, I led Silas off the main trail. The journal hinted at a specific landmark, a cluster of unique ferns. We pushed through dense foliage until we heard the faint sound of rushing water. Suddenly, we emerged into a hidden clearing. Before us cascaded a beautiful, secret waterfall, sparkling in the afternoon light. As twilight began to fall, painting the sky with hues of orange and purple, I scanned the area. My eyes searched the damp, rocky crevices near the waterfall's base. And then I saw it. Nestled in a shaded crevice, its deep crimson petals slowly unfurling in the fading light, was the rare crimson bloom. It was a truly triumphant and magical sight. The setting sun cast a warm, golden light over the rocks. I worked quickly, my pencil moving fast across the page. The crimson bloom was truly magnificent, and I wanted to capture every detail before the light faded. My heart felt light and full of joy. This discovery was everything I had hoped for. A slow, deliberate clap echoed through the quiet canyon. I spun around, startled. Caleb Monroe stood there, his smile unsettling. "Remarkable, Miss Reed," he said, his voice smooth as silk. Such a vibrant color must surely indicate a rich gold deposit nearby. My joy instantly turned to a cold dread. "That journal," Caleb continued, his eyes fixed on my father's book. "It must be a map, a guide to these hidden treasures." He took a step forward, his hand outstretched. "Give it to me, Miss Reed." Before I could react, Silas moved. He stepped directly between Caleb and me, his body a solid wall. "No," I declared, my voice firm despite the fear in my stomach. "This journal is not a map for gold. It holds years of scientific study. It is a record of life, not a guide to death and destruction." Caleb's pleasant facade began to crack, revealing the cold anger beneath. Caleb's patience snapped. His hand darted to his waistcoat. In a flash, he pulled out a small, dark pistol. The gentleman scholar was done completely. Now, only a desperate, greedy man stood before us, armed and dangerous. The air crackled with tension. My mind raced, trying to find a solution. I scanned our surroundings quickly. Then, my eyes caught a familiar patch of plants nearby. I remembered my father's notes in the journal. He had clearly identified them as causing severe, itchy rashes. A desperate idea formed in my head. I took a small, calculated step, pretending to lose my footing. With a subtle movement, I kicked a loose rock. It bounced and landed with a soft thud right near the patch of irritating plants. Caleb's eyes flickered towards the sound for just a moment. It was all the distraction we needed. Silas moved like lightning. He used Caleb's brief distraction, lunging forward with incredible speed. He tackled Caleb with full force. The pistol, still in Caleb's hand, fired with a loud crack. The shot went harmlessly into the twilight sky, echoing off the canyon walls. The struggle was brief but intense. Silas, strong and agile, maintained his hold. With a grunt, he twisted, using Caleb's own momentum against him. Caleb lost his balance completely. He tumbled backward, landing hard in the very patch of noxious plants I had noticed. Justice, it seemed, had a prickly touch. Silas quickly disarmed Caleb, securing the pistol and tossing it away. Caleb, meanwhile, began to yell. His hands were already scratching frantically at his neck and face. Red blotches were rapidly appearing on his skin. He looked quite miserable, a fitting end for his greed. We left Caleb Monroe tied to a tree, his expensive coat now quite dirty. Silas took the reins of Caleb's horse, leading it away with ours. He would be found eventually, but not before he had learned a harsh lesson about greed in the wilderness. We rode away, feeling a quiet victory in our hearts. As we rode, I looked back over my shoulder, not with malice, but with a deep sense of relief. Caleb's pursuit had threatened everything I held dear, my father's legacy, and the plants I sought to protect. Now that danger was behind us. The vast, silent mountains seemed to breathe with us, a quiet promise of peace. Later, at a safe camp by a clear stream, Silas looked at me with an expression I had not seen before. It was a look of genuine admiration, a warmth in his steady gray eyes. He stoked the small fire, then spoke softly. "Your father taught you well, Constance. He would be very proud." I smiled. holding the Sierra Flora journal close to my chest. Its worn leather felt comforting in my hands. I had not only found the crimson bloom, but I had also protected my father's invaluable work. This journal, filled with his beautiful illustrations and notes, was safe. It was a legacy preserved. Months later, the dust of the goldfields was far behind us. We were back near San Francisco, a city growing rapidly. I led Silas to a small plot of land I had managed to purchase, a quiet place away from the city's noise. "Here," I said, gesturing to the empty ground, "this is where we begin again." Inside a small, newly built cabin, I had started my true work. Shelves lined the walls, filled with small pots of native plants I had carefully collected during my travels. This was my nursery, a sanctuary for California's unique flora. It was a place of growth and new life, a stark contrast to the destruction I had witnessed. On my desk, among my notes and sketches, sat a small clay pot. Inside, a single, vibrant crimson bloom thrived, its deep crimson petals unfurling delicately. It was grown from a seed I had carefully collected from the hidden crevice. This bloom was more than just a flower. It was a symbol of hope, resilience, and success. Silas, who had once chased gold, found a new purpose by my side. He decided to stay, helping me clear the land and build the nursery. He realized that preserving life, cultivating beauty, was far more valuable than any fleeting fortune. Together, we were building something lasting and truly rich. One quiet afternoon, I opened a new, empty journal. Its pages were crisp and blank, waiting to be filled. This was not my father's journal, but my own. I was ready to start my own chapter of botanical history, documenting the plants I nurtured and the land I protected. My journey had just begun. My small green sanctuary flourished, a testament to dedication and love for the natural world. It stood as a stark contrast to the distant, dusty image of the goldfields, a place of chaotic ambition. Here, life was cultivated, not plundered. It was a peaceful, meaningful legacy rooted deeply in the Californian soil.
Si te gustó el video, pon me gusta, suscríbete y activa la campanita para ver más historias.